Hi there, I'm Rachel Diedrich, and today I would like for you to give me about 5 to 7 minutes of your time so I can go over the topic of orphan trains with you. It's an interesting topic, and it's something that took place during 1854 to 1829 and finally came to an end in 1930. Over 250,000 orphans, homeless children were abandoned and homeless and transported to rural communities in hopes for a better life. This began as a railroad began to stretch across America, and there was a need for more work. So immigrants thought that by coming to America, this would provide them with a new beginning and opportunities to make money and start over. So the people that immigrated here to the United States had become labor workers for factories and railroad lines. But also at that time, when work was needed, housing was scarce, and people were forced to live in small apartments with families and their children. Everyone had to work in the family to provide, and this included children as well. Some of the jobs that the children were doing, while parents were working in factories, and sometimes children worked in factories also, as children would do some employed jobs as newsboys and newsgirls, as you see in this picture here. They'd also be shoe shiners. And as parents got sick in the factories or injured, a lot of times the children were left abandoned or homeless, and sometimes one parent would die and the other would still survive, and they weren't able to take care of the children. This forced the children onto the streets and were homeless and abused and abandoned. And until some businesses and some organizations came to recognize what was going on here and notice the children. There were over 30,000 children that were living homeless in New York during the 1850s. There was a businessman, and his name was Charles Loring Brace, and in 1853 he developed the Children's Aid Society, and this was to get children out of the cities and to farm families, allowing for a future outside of factory work. A lot of times, though, these children were used as slaves on the farm. They came from New York Cities into the Midwest, where farming was a big opportunity at that time, and they needed workers on the farm. Older children would be paid for their work. Some of these jobs included babysitting the younger babies and working farm life. Also, children under the age of 16 were forced to go to school. This was both good and bad. As I said before, it allowed children to get off the streets and find new families and provide some work opportunities, but they were being separated from their families. Siblings would be separated, and sometimes it wasn't that their parents were sick and dying, that they just couldn't care for them anymore and needed to be placed into homes with families. The orphan train traveled all across the United States, and a lot of the children did come to the Midwest. The last train was in 1929, and that was in Sulphur Springs, Texas. The relocation of the children ended in 1930 due to a decreased need for farm labor in the Midwest. I guess some of the biggest obstacles for these children was, finding their families and figuring out their identity, who they were, what was their history. And a lot of that had been lost in the process of being separated from immediate family. Sometimes people will call this, they were rootless. They really didn't have any roots. So, with that, I do have some more pictures. This is a picture of children boarding the train and traveling across the United States. As you can see, the train is packed full of children. Another picture here is the Orphans at New York Founding Hospital. And this is one of the organizations that first took notice of all the children in the streets. And then after this is when Brace decided to relocate children and get them off the streets. And this here is a picture of Brace. These are some of the signs that were posted for children at that time, trying to get them homes and get them off the streets. And today there is now an orphan train museum, and this is now open today. And these are some orphan children here opening up the museum in New York, which is open and available for visitors and travel. So I hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, my sources are from study.com, the Intro to Human Services book, Wikipedia.com, and history.com. Thank you.